For the last 2 years, the majority of my Marvel Comics reading has been in their brand new Ultimate Universe. As someone who was newer to comics, I could not pass up a brand new jumping on point, no convoluted continuity, familiar characters but in unfamiliar situations. And quite honestly, it's been some of the most fun that I've had reading comics and experiencing this medium. But for the last few months, we've been hearing rumblings, rumors that the Ultimate Universe was coming to an end. And I thought this rumor mill was crazy, because why would Marvel end the Ultimate Universe? But at New York Comic Con 2025, Marvel did announce just that the Ultimate Universe is coming to an end as the main titles hit 24 issues apiece. 2 years of storytelling is going to be done very soon. And I'm going to be sad to see it go. But with things coming to an end, and we can kind of have the end is in sight. And so now it's a good time for us to look back at what made this Ultimate Universe so special. And so this is the Ultimate Universe Deep Dive. Now, I will give you a quick disclaimer. There are going to be mild spoilers in this video, but what you should not expect is one of those full story type videos. There are other channels that are better suited for that. What we're going to do here is I'm going to give you a brief overview of how this Ultimate Universe came to be and what I find to be so special about each of the titles. And so as I'm describing what's happening in the first volumes of each, you can decide which ones are worth your time or which ones you want to dive into. And hopefully you leave this video really excited about the Ultimate Universe. And if you are, you can pre-order the Ultimate Universe box set, the Volume 1 box set of each of the titles that we discuss is actually releasing on November 4th via Marvel Comics. So you can pre-order that from our channel sponsor, Panel Bound Comics. I will leave a link to that box set down below. But now, with all that said, let's dive in. So Marvel's Ultimate Universe, most people would attribute it to Ultimate Spider-Man #1 coming out in 2024, but the seeds were actually planted in a 4-issue miniseries back in June 2023 called Ultimate Invasion. And this is probably where I'm going to go the most in depth, because you can't really talk about this universe without talking about most of the events of this miniseries. But the Maker, who was the big bad villain from the previous Ultimate Universe, the evil Reed Richards from the Ultimate Universe, he's been trapped in a prison in Earth 616 for quite some time, but he stages an escape. And by the time our Marvel heroes, particularly the Illuminati, so Reed Richards and Namor and Black Panther, and I think Doctor Strange is in the Illuminati, all those people, by the time they realize the Maker has escaped, we don't know how long it's been, but we know that there are certain artifacts missing from around the Marvel Universe, but they can't quite piece together what he's trying to do with them. It turns out his sort of master plan is to create a brand new alternate universe that very closely mirrors Earth 616, but in a way that allows him to manipulate everything so that there are no heroes, or the people that we would consider superheroes from what we know about our universe, well, they don't become the heroes in this world. And so we see him sort of break out of prison, escape into this Ultimate Universe, and then we see him shaping the universe into the direction that he wants it to go. And so there's really cool stuff happening. Basically, he installs what we call the Maker's Council, which are some faces that are familiar, some that you may not know, but it's basically like if he's the ruler of the world, these are like his underlings that are there to keep order. And again, everything is just very sinister, made in the image of the Maker. And so it's up to Iron Man and Doom, of all people, who sort of figure out the Maker's plans and what he's doing and, make a stand to try to stop him. And are they successful? Are they not? Well, you can read it to find out. But over the course of those 4 issues, we really see that conflict play out. And it was something that's really fun. By the way, this is written by Jonathan Hickman with art by Brian Hitch. But over those 4 issues, it's been really fun to see like all the things that are made different. I think my favorite sequence is probably when the Maker comes up to Peter Parker and prevents him from getting bitten by that radioactive spider. So a lot of cool stuff coming out of that. Now, once the Ultimate Invasion series is done, basically it ends with the Maker being trapped in a sort of device. And he's going to be trapped in this device for 2 years. And that's where the big sort of storytelling device comes in, because the Maker is trapped and we got 2 years until he comes back. And we've got to have a team of heroes there to meet him when he gets back. And that is going to take us into the Ultimate Universe one-shot. This came out in November of 2023, and it basically is just that. It's like a team of heroes, Iron Lad, Doom, Captain America, and others, basically going and trying to take some of these relics. Like they found out about the Maker's sort of chamber or chambers of relics that he's stolen from across the Earth 616. And or even in the Earth 6160, he's stolen these relics to make sure that the heroes never become heroes. And so they're basically going on a heist to try to find some of these artifacts and, make the heroes become heroes. So that we get that set up in the Ultimate Universe one shot. And then the stage is set for what will become, the Ultimate line of comics. And so in January 2024, we get Ultimate Spider-Man issue number 1. We get that debut. And it's refreshing. The Ultimate Universe version of Peter Parker, he's older. He's married to Mary Jane. They've got kids. He's still working at the Daily Bugle. He's got a pretty comfortable life, but it's boring. It's mundane. And he feels like there should be something more happening in his life. And so when Iron Lad shows up with a radioactive spider, like, hey, here, you're supposed to have these powers. And for whatever reason, you don't have them now. So here, I'm gifting you with these powers so you can help us in the resistance. He's like, oh, snap. Maybe this is the something more that I'm trying to be a part of. And so he takes the radioactive spider bite. And of course, with great power comes great responsibility. And sort of the crux of Ultimate Spider-Man is Spider-Man and a team of allies, I won't spoil who's on it, are basically trying to get down to the bottom of who is really pulling the strings in New York City. There's been an attack. Everyone's been blaming Iron Lad for it, but we know that truly the Maker's Council is behind it. But there are other players, like there's the main council, there's like sort of underlings, there's all sorts of people in play. And in Ultimate Spider-Man, we're trying to get to the bottom of it to see how far the rabbit hole goes. I really love Ultimate Spider-Man. It's one of my favorites. The series kind of took the world by storm because that Ultimate Invasion miniseries did not sell well. A lot of retailers didn't order high on this Ultimate Spider-Man, but when it hit the market, that first issue went crazy because people were so excited to see a mature Spider-Man married with children and all the things. And so it's really dope, just that aspect, but I also love the art and the overall storytelling. It's written by Jonathan Hickman with art by Marco Cicchetto. Now, another thing that you should know is that all of the Ultimate Universe titles that I'm talking about, they take place chronologically. So issue number 1 of Ultimate Spider-Man debuts in January 2024. And that is also the in-universe date. And the second issue comes out in February, and it's February in that universe. And so the sort of universe aging in real time is a really fun device that you may not notice when you're reading it in trades, but it was really cool reading it in single issues. So we've got Ultimate Spider-Man. The next series that debuts in February of 2024 is Ultimate Black Panther. Now, I'm kind of biased toward this title because I'm a big Black Panther fan. And at the time, there was not a mainline Black Panther book on shelves, or it got canceled shortly after this came out. So if you wanted to read Black Panther, this was kind of it for a bit. But in this Ultimate Universe, T'Challa is still the king of Wakanda, of course. And his sister Shuri, of course, there's the age-old debate, like, should Wakanda have more of a presence in the outside world? Should they remain hidden? Should they be sharing resources with people on the outside, particularly in this new environment that's run by the Maker and his council? There are these forces, Ra and Khonshu, who you might recognize as gods in the original Marvel Universe, who are now like basically an embodiment of people, kind of calling themselves pseudo-gods in this new universe. But collectively, they are known as Moon Knight, and they're sort of reigning terror on all of Africa, the upper and lower kingdoms, as they're calling it. And it's creating a bit of friction. And so when Ra and Khonshu take the fight to Wakanda, well, now T'Challa's like, we got to leap into action. We got to show them that, we ain't no punks. We're not going to lay down and just watch this happen. And so this is about T'Challa taking the fight to Ra and Khonshu, but there's some other stuff going on there. Now, of course, we know T'Challa, all the wealth of Wakanda comes from vibranium and all that, right? Well, they know vibranium for its like scientific powers and stuff, or at least T'Challa does. But it turns out there's like a mystical element to it as well. And so the sort of internal struggle that T'Challa has is like T'Challa, the scientist, trying to kind of science his way out of situations or in his understanding, versus like, his counselors who are very much religious teachers, like sages. And then there's magicians that come in to play later on. I really love how suspenseful this series is. It's written by Brian Edward Hill, with art duties handled mostly by Stefano Caselli. But as T'Challa is trying to take this fight to Moon Knight, the collective forces of Ra and Khonshu, well, now he needs other people to help him navigate. And so what we meet is this universe's version of Killmonger and Storm, who of course are not Wakandan, but they're well traveled outside of Wakanda. So he has to rely on them to kind of help take the fight to where the fight needs to go. And that's just some of what's different. Again, I'm kind of leaving out major details just so I don't spoil them, so that you can be surprised or as surprised as possible when you read them. But Ultimate Black Panther by Brian Edward Hill and Stefano Caselli definitely gets thumbs up from me. I love that series. And now, perhaps the most surprising and kind of controversial title in this new Ultimate Universe was Ultimate X-Men. Ultimate X-Men debuted in March of 2024. It's written and drawn by Peach Momoko, who you probably know from an awesome variant cover of your favorite character. Like, that's pretty much been all of my exposure to Peach Momoko, was really cool comic book covers. I know she did the Demon Days series at Marvel. And this kind of takes that vibe, but brings it to her own title. So the Ultimate X-Men, again, are the most different from the main universe counterparts. This book takes place in Japan, and there's a young girl named Hisako Ichiki. Hisako is a girl who basically just graduated from middle school. So she's about 13, 14 years old. And, well, of course, that's the age where mutant powers begin to manifest. And so she's been through a lot of traumatic situations, right? And in particular, one of her friends recently passed away, and she's haunted by that, feeling like she should have done more. But turns out she's actually being literally haunted. So one day she gets in a car accident, or I should say she's hit by a car, but like a strange armor comes over her body and like protects her. And so that moment, which gets caught on film, exposes the fact that she is a mutant, the mysterious mutant girl. And soon after, she meets a young woman named May, who also has mutant abilities. She's got the powers that we would traditionally associate with Storm of the X-Men. And so she can control the weather. And together, these two are kind of learning to navigate mutantdom. We learn about their life at home. We learn about their biggest secrets and fears. And along the way, they are picking up other superpowered teenagers, kind of adding them to their crew. So we see the Ultimate Universe version of Surge, to go along with Ultimate Armor and Ultimate Storm, if you will. And there are others as well, but I won't spoil them. What makes this series a little bit harder to digest, besides the fact that these are brand new characters that you've not seen before, is the fact that it doesn't take on like a traditional superhero style. This book is written and drawn in the stylings of like a young adult horror manga. So there are some sequences that are just completely trippy and like kind of creepy. But it's such a departure from everything else in the universe. It's not until volume 2 where you start to see how it connects to the greater story overall. And then that kind of pulls you back in to everything else that's going on in the Ultimate Universe and how that one relates. But I think at its core, it's a book about like teenagers with powers and how that would affect them. And to that degree, it's pretty much what the X-Men has always been about. So I really like this iteration as well. So up until this point, the Ultimate Universe has been going on for like 6 months, but it's really just kind of like these disparate stories. We got Peter Parker in New York, we've got Black Panther in Wakanda, and then we've got these Ultimate X-Men in Japan. But what has happened is like 6 months from the time of the Ultimate Universe one-shot, the Ultimates have come on the scene. So in June of 2024, the Ultimates issue number 1 debuts. It's written by Dennis Camp, and the main artist on the series is Juan Frigeri. Now, I had never read a Dennis Camp book prior to this, but this book for me put him on the map. But basically, this kind of picks up where the Ultimate Universe one-shot and the events of Ultimate Invasion left off, with Iron Lad and Doom and others basically assembling their own team of Avengers, but they're called the Ultimates in this universe. But they're assembling their own team, trying to make sure that as many people who were supposed to get superpowers as possible gets them. And so they're going around basically collecting members of the army. Every issue is an essentially done in one story, focusing on introducing you to a new superpowered person. And so we get the introduction of the Ultimate Universe's She-Hulk in issue 3. I really love the origin of Ultimate Doom in issue 4. Another favorite is the origin of Ultimate Universe Luke Cage in issue 9. So there's a lot of like, you basically meet someone new in each issue of the book. The Ultimate Guardians of the Galaxy show up toward the end of volume 1. There's a lot to love about it. And I think that this book also kind of puts us head to head between what the Ultimates are building as like a resistance on the ground and with the schemes of the Maker's Council. Because while the Maker is sort of gone, everyone in the council is trying to like make themselves look better. So maybe they end up being the next leader or the chosen one, or maybe even overtake the Maker himself. And so all of the pesky schemes of the Ultimates, led by Iron Lad, Tony Stark, makes it difficult. And so it's a nice push and pull that you get in that series. But again, what I love about the Ultimates is that each issue is a sort of done in one story. And Dennis Camp and Juan Frigeri and others really play with the medium. I think the first like wow moment that I got was in issue 4, where we get the origin of Ultimate Universe's Doom. And I can't really say what I want to say about that issue without spoiling anything, but let's just say the number 4 has a lot of significance, and they play with it in several different ways over the course of that issue. I read it 4 times just to make sure that I was understanding it correctly, because it takes place across like 4 different timelines, which is honestly really dope. So the Ultimates is an easy favorite. I would say that if you're just trying to figure out what's happening in the universe overall, you need to read Ultimate Invasion, the Ultimate Universe one-shot, and then the Ultimates series. But there's a lot that you pick up reading the individual titles as well. So the Ultimates debuts in June 2024, and at this point we are chugging along. But in December of 2024, we are officially 1 year in. And so we get the Ultimate Universe 1 year in special. And in that special, I won't spoil who's in it. Really, it's just a flex. It's a big old flex so that we can see how powerful the Maker's Council is and just how overmatched our heroes are. But another big revelation that comes out of it is Ultimate Wolverine. Ultimate Wolverine is a title that debuts in January of 2025. It's written by Chris Condon with art by Alessandro Cappuccio. And if you just felt like you were kind of duped by what Ultimate X-Men was, well, this is the title for you. This is the book with the familiar mutants in situations that you don't know or can't predict. So in this universe, basically the Maker's Council representatives in Europe and Russia, or the Eurasian Republic as they call it, are Colossus, Magic, and Omega Red, all these Russian mutants, right? And of course, you know, we talk about Russia, we talk about like the Hydra of it all in mainline universe, and Hydra has their Winter Soldier. Well, in this universe, the Maker's Council has a Winter Soldier as well. And his name, apparently, was Logan at one point. And so we see this Ultimate Universe's version of Wolverine being sent out on these crazy assassin missions, but there is an opposition building on the ground to the sort of schemes of this Eurasian Republic and the, you know, the triumvirate of Magic, Colossus, and Omega Red. And well, let's just say it's not going to go well. But when the opposition comes up against the Ultimate Universe's Winter Soldier, they realize like, oh, wait, I know this mutant. And so we see people like Nightcrawler, Mystique, and we're seeing them kind of come face to face with Wolverine. And they're like, kind of like, maybe we can turn him. If we can get him on our side, we'd have a really powerful asset to aid us in this struggle against the Maker's Council and all their schemes. Now, all of this that I have just named is still going on with the backdrop of the fact that the Maker is going to come back in 2 years' time. And so as we are going on, like each month, the stakes get higher and higher. And so that's basically how the first year of the Ultimate Universe goes. In June of 2025, we get the Ultimate Spider-Man Incursion sort of crossover event starting. It's technically not a crossover. It's its own miniseries, but this is the first time we're seeing some of these Ultimate Universe characters kind of being made aware of each other in different books. And so in it, Miles Morales somehow gets sucked into this new Ultimate Universe. The Miles Morales of our 616, by the way, somehow gets sucked into this Ultimate Universe. His sister gets lost, and he's trying to find her. And in his quest to go find her, he kind of bounces around all of the major zones of this Ultimate Universe. So he finds his way in New York. He meets the Ultimate Spider-Man. He finds his way to Wakanda, meets Black Panther, goes to Japan, meets the Ultimate X-Men, and so on. And it's a whole thing like, can he escape? And his presence sort of alerts everyone to the fact that maybe the Maker is back sooner than expected. So it's a really interesting story. At time of recording, I have not read the series finale because it just came out this week. So we'll see how that goes. But all roads apparently are leading to the Ultimate Universe Endgame miniseries. The first issue of that comes out December 31st, 2025. I believe it's going to run 6 issues. But all these plot threads that we've been following over the last 2 years are going to come to a head. And while I am going to be sad to see the Ultimate Universe go, I think it's really cool that they've been telling such a concise isn't necessarily the word, but like they've been building in one direction so clearly and with all kind of turning on all cylinders, really making a big thing feel like a big thing. Because, you know, with comic events, a lot of time it's like, all right, cool, yeah, it's going to reset and whoop-de-doo, we're going to sell more books, right? This Ultimate Universe feels different, like the stakes are higher, and it's been a really fun and thrilling ride. So hopefully this deep dive kind of tells you what there is to like about each book. If you want the nice, big, bloody mutant book, then that's what Ultimate Wolverine is going to be. If you like the idea of like getting inside the head of teenagers as they're fighting their own version of a resistance against the status quo, then you'll like Ultimate X-Men. If you like Black Panther in any capacity, especially if you're familiar with the MCU's version of Black Panther, Ultimate Black Panther's for you. If you are one of the, I shouldn't say millions, but if you were one of the very vocal minority of people who believe that Spider-Man should be allowed to grow up, he should have been allowed to get married, and we should be seeing like more mature storytelling featuring Peter Parker, then Ultimate Spider-Man is everything you asked for. But because this is an alternate universe, an alternate timeline, everybody is just a little bit different than you remember them. And that aspect really keeps you on your toes and keeps you excited to read it. Speaking of being excited to read it, I hope you are. Again, you can pre-order the Ultimate Universe box set at the link down below. I've already got all the trade paperbacks, but I still kind of want that slipcase. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. I'll see you in another video real soon. Let me know if you want more deep dives like this. Until then, stay safe, stay awesome, and read something dope today. Peace.